Welcome to a new video. My name is John Skippy Limcool. Welcome. Nice to see you. Welcome. So I could just play that all night, and I'm not going to. This is showing Unify 1.8, which is coming out right after Valentine's Day. That 3 or 4 days at the most after Valentine's Day, I'm expecting. Happy Valentine's Day in a handful of days. It will be here. I want to show you some fun ways to use drum grooves in Unify to make something that's not boring and that has some life to it and that you can customize for your grooves. And these really are catered and aimed at those of you that don't enjoy drum programming, that don't want to play the notes on the keyboard for the hi-hat and the shaker and the kick and the snare, etc. But you want to still have some variety and you want to make nice music and have fun. So the grooves inside of Unify let you do all that kind of stuff really, really easily. So I'm going to show you some ideas. Now, this first thing I'm playing, it shows off the new color keyboard that we have inside of Unify so that we can color the keys. And it also shows the starting of a drum groove with the mod wheel, which is a technique that's really great for standalone and for just jamming like this. When you get into your DAW and you have a sequence and you're going to have it starting and stopping and you're going to start working at measure 15, this particular patch isn't that ideal for that because when you stop, the drums keep playing. They're not supposed to be listening to a DAW. It's supposed to be listening just to the mod wheel for the conductor is my modulation wheel, basically. So I've taken this and split it into two separate patches. There's one patch, which is this, which is the bass and piano. And I added vocals, a little voice pad to it. Right? So that's really lovely. And then on the other track, I'm going to go up here to BPM drums, and all of these drums, it's really cool. Even well, first of all, let's do this. I've recorded a loose interpretation of a track that I love this song. When my daughter was really young, I would sing this to her. It's a Stevie Wonder track. Love it, right? Now, if you go to the BPM drums, I could choose any of these and just play a note, middle C, and it will listen, go, oh, that's where I'm supposed to be, no matter what. Even if I play at the wrong time, it's in tempo, because it's listening to Logic, or whatever your DAW is, right? Well, there's one right here called Lo-Fi Chilly Love. And it's that cool groove. So the first thing I want to show you is just how easy it is in your DAW just to call up a groove and just play a note. Middle C is the normal C3. That's the normal pitch. Some of these will change by pitch as you go up and down the keyboard. Some won't. If you want, you can turn that on and off in MIDI Box. Just double-click MIDI Box to get it to open up. And there's this thing called Note equals Course. And now you're able to play around and have the groove be at a different pitch. So you can have like little parts that are played at this type of a pitch. And what's fun is I can turn off note to course, and now no matter where I play on the keyboard, it still stays up in pitch. Right? Kind of fun to play with that kind of stuff. Just as just to plant that thought. But let's go back to Lo-Fi Chilly Love. And So the first way to use this groove is in your sequencer, right? And we have a really cool shortcut way of double-clicking MIDI Box. And here's the thing I want to point out. If this says stack, see how this says stack, but down here it still says synth pop, right? If you click right here, you can see that there's actually 10 different grooves that Unify is able to look at, which is pretty cool. And we actually have a knob set up inside of Unify over here on the macro knobs page, right here, patterns. And as I move this, it's actually cycling. Watch, as I do this, watch right here, it cycles through all the different patterns. Right? Now, if I want, you can click in this little blue text area and drag to your DAW. And I'm going to start at measure 2 because that's where the groove starts. Now, because it's a stack, it's going to actually drag over all 10 MIDI files, which I don't want. I just want synth pop. So we can go to synth pop and drag this up here. The others I can actually just get rid of because I don't want to use those right now. I know I only want to use synth pop, so I get rid of these layers. Now the key to get this to play is to bypass MIDI Box. So that way MIDI Box's MIDI file isn't playing. The MIDI file is played by your DAW. And it plays. And it just sits there and does its thing. There's some controls over here we could play with. Play that, decay. But random timing, we can't, that won't do anything. MIDI notes, speed, pattern velocity, these things are talking to parameters inside of MIDI Box. So after decay, something that's like changing the quality of the sound or the envelopes of the sound, these are changing parameters inside of the MIDI playback of Unify. And let me show you the difference. So here it is just playing from Logic. It's just, doing its thing. Right? It's nice. That might be all you need. But it's really fun to go farther than this. So instead of playing the MIDI file inside of Logic, we're going to turn back on MIDI Box. So I play a note, right? And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to enable latch so that Logic is now going to watch not only the notes that I play as I record, but also moving of any of these knobs, because these all show up inside of Logic when you go over here and you hit A for automation. Right here under Unify parameters, you can see all those parameters are there to work with. So they will be recorded and registered into your DAW when you move the knobs while playing back and recording automation. So let's go over here and go record. And I'm going to play middle C, and then I'm going to change knobs and watch what we can do to make it more alive and fun. Idea, right? So by playing with the knobs, I now have a much more animated, alive, and fun track. Set this to read. Changing the pattern speed at the right times. Some of these didn't work, so you can delete them. Like maybe this one here didn't work, so delete them. Like that last one, I can hold down Shift when I drag and get all of those and just get rid of them. So, by the way, if you're working in Logic, make sure you go to Project Settings, to MIDI, to Chase, and make sure you turn on notes. That way, I just played the note once at the beginning and I held it the whole track, but now I can start at major 13 or wherever. It replays the note. Otherwise, I wouldn't hear the drum groove. So make sure you turn that on. Okay, so step one inside of Unify is just to have it play like this, where it's using real-time automation to get all sorts of really nice variety to the pattern and stuff. I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we'll call it quits. There's so much more to show you, possibilities-wise and layers and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just going to deal with one patch for this video. We'll do another one where we start layering and a whole lot of stuff. It's nuts, totally nuts. But what I want to do is this. Let's see, let's make sure our MIDI top note is up. We're going to be playing with this parameter. What is it changing inside a MIDI box? Check this out. This is the note range, and it's a filter that has two options. It can be set either to include within this range or exclude within this range. And by using this, we can do some really, really cool things. This groove is just one layer with effects and stuff, right? The kick, the hi-hats, the snare, they're all going through the effects. Same effects. I'm going to break that up, and you won't believe how easy this is to do. So I happen to know that the note that equals the snare is G#1. So if I move the low note, and I'll play while I move this up. Bring the low note up. I've passed where the kick drum is. It's gone. If I bring this down to G#1, there's the snare. Now, instead of include notes for this layer, let's say exclude notes, which reverses it so that G1 and G#1 are now excluded. All the other notes above G#1 and all the notes below G1 are included. So I have the hi-hats and the kick. Let's bring down the send. So it's just nice and dry. And all you have to do, check this out, go duplicate, and then for the second layer, go to that MIDI box, and instead of exclude, change it to include. That's all you got to do. And then let's turn back up the auxiliary for this second layer, and boom. The snare is now played on its own layer. And this opens up so many crazy fun doors, because since it's on its own layer, that means it could have its own reverb, right? And if I want to use a different reverb, all you have to do is go, here, let's see, let's go effect types. I've got reverbs here, so I could just use this to say vintage verb. Nice. And we could take this a step farther. Let's look at this first one. I want to pull out the kick drum now. So all I have to do is go up here, and this is the exclude range, right? So I just have to lower this below where the kick is. So as I play down here, there, the kick is gone. It's just the hi-hats and little sound. Duplicate this layer, and then click and drag to put this into slot number 1, because I want this to be where the kick is. Let's solo it so we can hear it and go MIDI box. And instead of exclude, we're going to reverse it to include. And now we hear the kick and the snare. And then take G sharp and lower this because G sharp 1 is the snare. And now it's just the kick. So I can have the kick. I could pan the hi-hats over here. We could even doing something like, let's go to load embedded. And instead of the drums, let's go down here to BPM percussion and get a little 16th note shaker and click that. And let's pan that to the left. Let me move him up here so he's with the hi-hats. And even the kick drum. Let's open up that Guru sampler. Instead of this drum kit, we could use Airwave. And then tune it down. We could turn off Chow. So it's not retro. It's now nice and normal. Now let's play this track. So we've totally changed the vibe just by changing what sounds are being used for the different layers, right? Okay, so that covers right where I want to stop with this video. The ability to take a single drum groove. Here, let's do this just so we can compare. Copy. And now, so I can call back up, go load patch. Here's the original. Right? Let's paste. Totally different vibe. Which is what you want. Depends on what kind of music you're doing, what the vibe is you want to cover and so forth. If I needed this to be lo-fi, I could open up the Flex EQ, turn down the shelf, and maybe lower the low shelf too. Get it to be a little bit more lo-fi instead of that. So the tools are there for you to do all sorts of fun things with drums without programming anything, just using the resources we have put into Unify. So I hope this gets you inspired. Play with knobs, turn on automation in your DAW. If you don't know how to do automation in your DAW, search YouTube. You're learning about this from YouTube. You can learn about automation in your DAW from YouTube as well. It's a great resource for learning how to do specific things, okay? So happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for your support. I should point out really quick, because it is the way I make a living. This is my website, pluginguru.com. And if you want to support and appreciate this information, please visit, buy a library or two. It's a win-win, because you're helping me financially, and you're getting most of these libraries completely reinvent your plugins to be a whole new something. You call up Signs of Life, which has insects powering pads and rain powering beautiful sounds, and it's a whole different thing than anything Omnisphere has inside of it. All these libraries do all sorts of fun things. So pluginguru.com, and get Unify if you don't have it, because it's just such a great tool for all sorts of applications. I should point out, at any point, I could, instead of Guru Sampler, I could go in, I could load Contact or Battery or anything else that I wanted to play any of these sounds. That we're starting with just what's in Unify. But the power of Unify is at any second, I could go, no, I want to use Contact and I want to use this hip hop library or whatever, you know? You can swap the parts out. That's something you can't do anywhere else. So that's our power. So use it. Okay? See you later. Thanks.